Hello, I'm Jonathan M0JSX and thanks for joining me on another video. If you've followed me for a little while, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of the Icom range of radios. I've got the 7300, which I've had for a number of years. I picked up the 705 just a couple of years ago now. And the feature of those two radios that I love is the fact they've both got built-in USB ports, supporting both cat control and also audio over that same USB port. You'll also know that for some time I ran the FT-857 in the car this is of course Yaesu's HF, VHF, UHF all mode radio. And I love the 857, I certainly loved using it mobile. I've since sold my car and no longer have a radio installed in the car. But when I had this installed in the car, I thought I'd love to do FT8 mobile. I've got the ATAS installed on the car. I'd love to use the 857 mobile, but it was always a bit of a faff with the 857 because it doesn't have an inbuilt USB port and it's got a clunky serial port on the back, which is actually just an 8-pin mini DIN connector. Audio for data mode is supplied over a 6-pin mini DIN connector. So if you wanted to try and do something like that, it always required two cables. It required one as a serial adapter cable to that 8-pin mini DIN connector, and then maybe even another adapter then to USB. And then audio, you'd either have to homebrew something or maybe use something like a signal link in order to get audio into the radio. Of course, Yaesu came out with their own SCU17, which was really designed for the FT-450 because the FT-450 has got a standard serial 9-pin serial connector on the back of it. And then you'd have to add on a CT62 cable in order to get it working with the 857. Again, quite clunky, quite expensive, and also quite big compared to what it's actually doing. So when I saw that a company called Digirig had developed an interface which would connect to the 857 or a whole host of other radios and connect to your computer via one USB cable, I was quite interested, mostly because the device is tiny. This is the whole device. It's got two 3.5mm connectors on one end. One handles your serial connection to the radio, the other handles the audio, and on the other side it's got one USB Type-C. It's supplied with all the cables you need. You will have to buy the radio cables to suit your radio, but you'll get a curly USB-A to USB-C cable, quite nice, and you'll also get, let's say, these are generally supplied separately or priced separately, but without these you can't use the device, so you kind of have to buy it. It's supplied with the correct cable set. So in this case, I've got the correct cable set in order to use with the 857. This cable set, of course, would also work with the 817, the 818, or the 897. Let's quickly talk about pricing. This is the Digirig Mobile. It retails from digirig.net at just under $50. The correct cable set would be an additional $30 or around that price. That's certainly the price for the version for the FT-857, 17, 897 series. You can buy them in the UK. Martin Lynch & Sons will be the distributor for these. They're going to be retailing at £99.95 in the UK for the device, and then the cable sets will be an additional £59.95. I must just say that Denis at Digirig has sent this unit to me for review. I reached out to him though and asked him for a review unit because I wanted to see what it was all about. So let's jump in, let's connect it up. I've got a Raspberry Pi running KM4ACK's Builder Pi, which is great. Go check him out on YouTube as well. So we've got Builder Pi running on a Raspberry Pi 3. We're going to connect it up and we're going to see how easy it is to get it on the air. So we've got everything here. We've got the back end of the FT-857. We've got the Digirig Mobile itself. Set that down. So they're also supplied with a USB A to C cable, and then Denis has provided me with the correct cable set for the FT-857. So we've got two 3.5mm connectors one end, and then we've got the other ends. We've got one which is a 6-pin mini DIM, one that is an 8-pin mini DIM. So let's get them plugged up, and first things first, I'm going to get the cables plugged into the back of the radio. it's always important with these connectors, I'm sure you know, and I don't need me to tell you how to suck eggs, but you don't want to be twisting these mini DIN connectors inside the sockets. The number that I've seen where the pins just get absolutely wound round and get bent and just will not work again. So just take care, make sure you're plugging them in the right way around. There's always this little indentation on the connector itself. Just make sure you're lining that up. I happen to know with the 857 that indentation needs to be at the top. Some radios have that mounted upside down and have that indentation at the bottom, but I know it's at the top, so I can plug it straight in. Now, the 6p mini DIN, which was the one I plugged in first, is the audio connector, so I'm going to plug that into audio on the Digirig itself, so let's just do that. And then the 8p mini DIN is for the serial, so let's do that next. There you go. Sorry. All fingers and thumbs in the way of the camera, it's hard to do that. So there you go, that's that plugged in. And then it's just a case of plugging in the USB Type-C cable, and we'll plug the other end into the Raspberry Pi. So we've got the Digirig connected to the computer, which is a Raspberry Pi. I'm just viewing that with the VNC viewer on my laptop in front of me. So the first thing we're going to do is load up FLRig. Now I use FLRig as the interface almost between WS-JTX and the computer. You can see there it's last set on 6 meters. We're going to use it on 20 meters in just a moment's time. So that's working nicely. The next thing we're going to do is just go and open up WS-JTX. Now this isn't a video about WS-JTX at all. This is a video truly showing about the Digirig itself. So I'm not going to go too in depth. If we don't make a contact today, I'm not going to be too worried about it. But we will have a quick look on PSK Reporter and see how far we're getting. So as I say, we're currently on 6 meters, but we want to go down onto 20 meters. So I'm going to pop down onto 20. Let's just quickly show you the parameters for audio here. So under settings and under audio, we can see there it's appearing as a USB PNP sound device. That's how it appears here on Linux. There's also on Windows and on Mac as well. It always comes with a USB PNP sound device because it's using an open source or a fairly common driver, not an open source driver, but a common driver that's quite prolific, as it were. And then radio, so we've got it set for FLRig because FLRig is what's actually controlling the radio. So if I were just to pick a clear frequency, and somewhere around there looks to be fairly clear to me, and hit enable TX, we can see that come the next transmit cycle, radio's gone into transmit. That's absolutely great, as we would expect. We're seeing just under 10 watts being produced. I'm just going to edge up the audio just slightly, just to bring up the transmit power very slightly. So there it goes, running about 20 watts. I tend to run anywhere between about 15 and 30 watts when I'm running FT-8. Generally speaking, I find that's absolutely fine. So we're going to let this call CQ for just a few moments, and either we'll get a QSO or we'll have a look on PSK Reporter and see how far we've been heard. So I am just a little bit impatient. The radio is still calling CQ, but I've just loaded up PSK Reporter on my screen, and as you can see, being heard all across Europe. Got a nice arc there, as well as a couple of stations over in North America as well. So from a transmit point of view, we can say that it's definitely working, and from a receive point of view, clearly getting stations on the receive window. So audio wise, it's working as you would expect. So the other reason I love the Digirig is the fact that you can use it as a programming cable between your computer and your radio. Now, this doesn't matter what cable set you're using. I know they happen to do a cable set for the Baofeng radios or handhelds. It works with that as well. Obviously, 857 here, so we're going to program the 857 using the Digirig. I've plugged it directly into my laptop here because it's just, I find it just a little bit easier to use Chirp. I know I could do it with the Raspberry Pi, but I'm just going to stick to what I'm familiar with. So I've connected it all up. I'm going to open up Chirp, and then we're going to just quickly pop a new channel into the radio. So Chirp's loaded. I'm going to go radio, and download from radio. We are on COM port 5. We've got a Yaesu, but we haven't got a 60. We've got an FT-857. So I'm going to click OK. So it's going to tell me to turn the radio off. So I'm going to turn the radio off. It's going to tell me to press the mode either way button and turn the radio on. And it's going to enter clone mode. And then it says after clicking OK, press C to send the image. So I'm going to click OK and then press C to send the image. We can see on the radio it says sending.
Who do you want to message?
Thanks, Siri. On the radio it says sending. On the computer it says receiving, and it's clone completed. The radio thinks it's done, and we can see my programming file here. So I want to enter a new frequency. There's a weekly net on the local club has a weekly net. So I want to load in the new frequency. So I'm going to pop in 145.4125. It's the D-net is what they call it. There we go. So we've got D-net. No tone, no duplex needed. Narrowband FM, and we want 12.5 kilohertz tune step. So with that there, we can go radio and upload to radio. Everything's the same, COM port 5. I'm going to click OK. And this time we're going to click the receive button. So I'm going to click receive, and then I'm going to click OK. And there we go. We can see the radio is receiving data from the computer. It doesn't take very long at all. It's nice, really nice thing about this radio is it programs quickly. And there we go, it's gone straight back in. So if we go into the memory mode and we were to scroll through all the way, we would see that we at the end we will find that new channel, which, as we said, was called D-net. So there it is, the D-net. And that's put a new channel into the radio using the Digirig itself. So there we have it. That is the Digirig mobile from Digirig. As I say, these are about $50 stateside. They're about £100 here in the UK. Obviously, transportation costs being what they are has pushed that price up, I'm sure. I think it is a worthwhile alternative to something like the Signal. The Signal itself is a bit of a dated technology now, and particularly where it doesn't give you that cat control either. I think that's the real advantage of the Digirig, is the fact that you're getting that cat control at a cost that is comparable, let's certainly say that in the UK, to the SCU17 from Yaesu. But it is, as I say, it is much smaller than that SCU17 device from Yaesu. It's all plug and play. It's using very standard drivers. It's supported out of the box by, as I say, Windows, Linux and Mac. So I can thoroughly recommend the Digirig without any question, to be honest with you. If you have a need, if you have a radio that doesn't have that built-in USB port, then I would say absolutely go for the Digirig as the #1 option in order to get that rig control and that audio into your computer for FT-8, PSK, let's remember that's still a thing, or any of the other digital modes that you should wish. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. 73, bye-bye.